Welcome back, everybody, and today I'm back with an as seen on TV product called the Power XL StirMax. This is a multi-cooker that can supposedly stir itself. So let's see how it works in today's video, starting with the unboxing I did about 3 months ago. Let's take a look at the Power XL StirMax. I bought this on sale at Walmart for 79 bucks. It usually lists anywhere from 99 to 130. On Amazon, it currently has a 4.1 star rating, and it's an Amazon's choice. And here it is. We've got quite a bit of literature here, some instructions. We have a nice square lid here. That is the inside. There must be an arm here somewhere to put in there. But the claims are that it's a 7.5 quart multi-cooker that can automatically stir and shred. Includes 9 presets, cool touch handles, non-stick ceramic coated pot. Easy to clean. They say it goes in the dishwasher, so no soaking and no scrubbing. They say it has a glass lid, digital display, and touchpad controls. Now, most people online who liked it kind of praised the stirring feature. They said that allowed them to multitask in the kitchen. But there were those who didn't like it. A lot of people said the motor was kind of weak. Quite a few people said it didn't shred very well either, or at all. Some people said it just was not as good as a slow cooker. So I have to go over these massive instructions and then get started. All right, so I've been reading over these instructions. There's kind of a lot to it. There's a lot of different settings. There's a lot of different options. So I think the best way for me to figure this out is just by jumping into it and learn as I go. So in their relatively massive recipe guide, I picked out a basic recipe. We're going macaroni and cheese. Now I washed it off. Now this stir handle kind of just pops in and out of there. The nonstick surface, it feels pretty good, so I have high hopes for that. So let's jump right in this recipe and see what we've got here. This one's going to be using the slow cook feature and the stir low. So we got a couple different options there. So let's get the recipe going and then see how it works. The instructions for this look pretty simple. All you have to do is just place all the ingredients in there and then start it. You don't have to stir it because it stirs itself, supposedly. So here we go. Let's start with the first recipe. 3 cups of shredded sharp cheddar cheese, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, teaspoon of cornstarch, 1 pound of elbow macaroni, 2 cups of heavy cream, 2 cups of chicken broth, teaspoon of salt. They don't say to put the lid on there, but I'm assuming that goes next. Now select the slow cook option. We are on slow cook. Adjust temperature to low. Change time to 1.5 hours. Select stir low and press start. See what we got here. It is stirring. Looks like it hits a big traffic jam over there. It freely stirs and then it kind of hits that. Oh, it just stopped. I'm on the stir low function, low temperature, 1.5 hours, slow cook. Now it went the other direction. Now I read over the instructions, but there's so much I kind of forgot all the details. So when it's on stir low, it has intermittent stirring, so it's doing what it's supposed to do. I have no stirring to do. I'm just gonna sit here for 1.5 hours and see what happens. I'll peek at it throughout the process, but I'm not gonna mess it. I'm gonna let it do its own thing. Check back halfway through, and then I'll let you know when it's done. All right, we're about the halfway point. I gotta take a peek now. Let's check it out. I have not looked at this yet. Let's see what we got. It looks like mac and cheese. We still have 45 minutes to go. It looks like it might be kind of shredding the macaroni a little bit. But I don't know, we'll see. So far it looks pretty good, but we're only halfway done. It kind of looks like that constant stirring is shredding the macaroni a little bit, but we'll see how it looks when it's done. I still have 45 minutes to go. I'll check back then. All right, we got 1 minute left. I'll tell you why I'm laughing in a second here. Ah, it's over, it's done. I'm laughing because I can see what's inside there and it doesn't look very good. But let's take a closer look now. I should point out that it does switch automatically to keep warm, and I think it'll be there for several hours, so that's kind of a cool feature. Except for the fact that this doesn't look like macaroni and cheese anymore. And for the big reveal, there it is. It doesn't even resemble mac and cheese anymore. It's like been completely obliterated by the constant stirring, just obliterated. It almost has a consistency of like oatmeal. Look at this. And the cheese has been completely absorbed in there instead of coating it. And you have big, look at this, like a snowball. This is like a that's one big macaroni chunk. What is that? Get out of here with that. I'm gonna dish some of this. I'm gonna transfer it into this bowl here. It's just clumpy. It's just big oatmeal-ish looking macaroni. There's like no resemblance to elbows in there. There's no elbows left. It's an elbowless macaroni. So I guess you could say, well, you should have taken it out earlier, but it's supposed to be one of these things that you can just set and forget. That's why it stirs itself. I mean, obviously I could have taken it out earlier, but the idea is to have it go on its own. And in that case, it completely obliterated this macaroni. Let me try a taste test. Maybe it'll taste good still. And I have a lot of it too. I have to eat all this. Here we go. It actually has the consistency of kind of dry stuffing. So if you ever want to have like mac and cheese flavored stuffing, this might do the trick, because dry stuffing, that's the texture, not mac and cheese. I was thinking maybe it could redeem itself at least with a good flavor. It's kind of a below average mac and cheese, and it's dry. I can't say I'm very impressed by this recipe. It could just be the recipe though. Maybe it's good for other things. Maybe something like this is not good to set and forget. So I got a lot more to try, and I've had reviews like this where it starts off bad and ends up good. So I still have high hopes this will turn out well, but my first recipe was not very good. So I'm gonna clean this off, and tomorrow we'll go with the next recipe. All right, it's time for round number 2, but what did we learn from round number 1? First of all, we learned that recipe wasn't very good. It cooked too long, it shredded the life out of that macaroni. So maybe it's not a set and forget as they want you to believe, at least not for that recipe. So for round number 2, I'm gonna dispense with their recipe guide and make something very simple, 3 ingredients. And this does need to be shredded, so that might be a good thing in this case. But before I do that, I did run this through the dishwasher. As you can see, it held up quite nicely. So the surface looks pretty good after going through the dishwasher, so I am happy about that. They say it's dishwasher safe, it seems to be. So let's try this very simple crock pot dish and see how it does at shredding chicken. There's other ingredients you could add to this, but I'm not. I'm gonna keep this as simple as I can and lower my variables to the bare minimum. Let's start with 1 can of cream of chicken soup. I'm gonna kind of spread this around the bottom just to kind of give it a layer to rest on. So I've got kind of a layer of cream of chicken soup. Now 2 pounds of chicken breasts. Another can of cream of chicken. Cheddar cheese soup. This is what we got, and I'm just gonna kind of spread these around just a little bit. Now hopefully this stirs itself later, but I am just gonna kind of mix it up just a little bit. Adding the lid. All right, so on this side we're gonna go to slow cook. Defaults to 8 hours, which I do want, so 8 hours is about right. And we're gonna go over here to stir delay, which means it'll start stirring about the 4-hour mark. I think we're set. All right, we're off, so in about 8 hours this will be done, but in the 4-hour mark, it should start stirring. So I'll have to check back in 4 hours and see how that does. Now I want this chicken to be nice and shredded, so unlike the macaroni, which I didn't, maybe the shredding will go well in this situation. So I'll see you back in 4 hours. We'll take a look at how the stirring goes. We're at the 4-hour mark and it just started stirring. Let's check it out. It's taking that chicken breast for a ride in there, isn't it? It is going for a chicken breast ride in there. Interesting. So it's the stir delay turned on to stir high, which I don't think I want. I'm gonna switch it over to stir low, because I don't think it needs to stir constantly. All right, so stir low will just go intermittently, which is probably more what I want. I don't think it needs to stir completely the entire time. But it did switch over to stirring at the right time, so I'm pretty happy about that. I'll be curious how this turns out when it's done. It keeps taking that chicken breast for a ride. That's kind of interesting. I'll check back in about 4 hours and see how this turned out. All right, the timer just went off. Now I just spent 4 hours stirring this, so that should be interesting. Let's take a closer look now. And here we go. It's very well stirred, I'll say that. And it does seem done. That is well stirred. See, I got 1 big chicken chunk there. There's another chunk right there. So there's a couple of chunks in here, but for the most part, it's better shredded than I would normally do otherwise. A couple of chunks, but really not too bad. That's probably the biggest chunk in there that did not get shredded. Now I normally serve this over some white rice. Let's try it out. There's what we got. Now for the big test. Now this is something I've had 100 times before, so if it's not right, I'll know. Here we go. Interesting, there is a slight difference. So despite a couple of chunks in there, it's actually more shredded than I'm used to eating it. There's a smoothness to it that I don't usually get, so it's certainly well stirred, even though there are a few chunks in there. So I would say as far as this goes, it was a success. Next up, I'm gonna do a variation of their rice pilaf recipe here. First up, we select the saute preset. Saute preset is selected, right there. And then press start. All right, done preheating, and we have sauteing action going on right now. 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 3 tablespoons of salted butter. We have stirring going on. It looks like it's all pooling to one side. It is pooling. Some areas of the bottom haven't even got any butter on them. I'm just gonna kind of mix it up a little bit more before I put the rice in there. Now we add 2 cups of rice. Now we go for 1 minute. It seems like a lot of it kind of bunches up on the edges. I'm not sure that's really what we want. This is supposed to do all the stirring. We're not supposed to do any stirring, so we'll see about that. It looks like a lot of this right here, all around the edges, are not really getting stirred. Maybe when we have liquid in there, it won't be so bad though. After 1 minute, it's 3.5 cups of chicken stock. Oh yeah, we got sizzle. We got sizzle going on. A little bit of thyme and a bay leaf. Now what we're supposed to do is hit stop. We hit stop now. And select the rice preset. Rice preset right there. Cover this up. We're around the 10-minute mark. Let's see what we got. I mean, looking inside there, something is happening. Something is happening there. Now this rice function does not use the stir paddle whatsoever. It does not stir at all. And something else is, it doesn't display a time or anything. You have no idea how long it's gonna take. The instructions state that about 2 cups of rice should take 27 to 30 minutes. I guess we'll find out soon enough. We're at 10-minute mark now, so that means I have about 20 more minutes to go. It's doing something. We shall see. All right, it just beeped. This should be done now. And that took about 28 minutes. The instructions say 27 and 30, so we're right in the middle there. And I've got some observations. Now my first observation, looks like all the ingredients went to the outside here. I noticed that it was cooking from the center outward, and I guess a lot of the liquid was on the outside as well. Very strange. There was no stirring, so it didn't mix the ingredients up. But speaking of stirring, let me stir this up and see if maybe that'll be okay. But right now, that's a little bit weird, how the ingredients are on the outside. Haven't seen that before, but maybe that doesn't really matter. Well, look at this. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Now, even the paddle wasn't used for most of it. It was used for the initial phase. Maybe I should have taken it out, but it didn't call for that, so I just followed the instructions. And we got this going on too, which I don't know about that. But let's give this a taste and see what we got here. Let's see what this tastes like. I'm gonna try some of the non-burnt rice first. Non-burnt first. It's done, but unevenly cooked, a bit dry. I'm gonna try part of this as burnt. Crunchy. I don't know about this. Some of the grains aren't completely done, most of it is. I feel like it should have stirred occasionally because right now, a lot of the ingredients on the outside, that's kind of weird. I'm not convinced. We got more to try out, but so far, I'm not sure this is a success. All right, so I'm not really convinced about this yet, but I got something I want to try that should give me a much better idea of how this stirring action actually works. I want to try some ground beef, because when you have ground beef, that's got to be stirred, right? In the recipe guide, there's a recipe for chili. I'm going to use some different ingredients, but I'm going to follow their instructions. Before I get started, I wanted to see how level this thing is, because everything is kind of going to the edges. Let's see if it's actually level. That is pretty level to me. So you can't say I have a crooked table, this thing's level. So on this chili recipe, the first thing we're supposed to do is select the StirMax preset. We're on the StirMax preset. They say to press start, and then increase the time to 15 minutes. All right, so far, so good. All right, it's preheated, it took about 5 minutes. Now what we're supposed to do is add 2 pounds of ground beef, and we're gonna brown it. Oh, it's struggling to stir it. It is struggling to stir it. It can't do it. Oh, it's struggling. It's weak. It is a weak stirring. It's pushing all out to the side. I mean, if I have to stir it myself, what's the point of having automatic stirring? All right, now it's kind of equally divided. No more clumps. Try to be as fair as I can do it. Let's see what happens on the next round of stirring. What's it going to do? I mean, it's kind of doing it. It's kind of, in some ways, it's kind of just pushing around, but it's I don't know, man. I'm a little skeptical. I can already tell you out here, this isn't gonna get touched. That's gonna stay there. That's gonna stay out there. Those corners, they're not moving. My instinct is to reach in there and stir it up myself, but I gotta let it go on its own and see how it can do. I'm just gonna ignore this for a little while, come back in a few minutes and see how well it's actually keeping this stuff stirred. I have a bad feeling on the corners, that stuff isn't gonna get moved. But I'll come back in a few minutes and see how it turned out. All right, it's been several minutes. Let's look inside and see what we got. And I mean, it still seems like the edges are a bit pink. I feel like I just need to move these edges. Like, see that? That's not done. That's not done. The corners just, it gets stuck in there and it doesn't get cooked. The corners are a problem. So you still have to stir it yourself, even though it's an automatic stirring mechanism. I thought it looks pretty well done. Now we're supposed to add our spices. I'm mixing this myself because I don't trust it. Now this is supposed to cook for 2 minutes and then we add the rest of our ingredients. All right, it's been 2 minutes. Now we have to add everything else. We've got chili beans. We've got sauce. Some broth here. Now, I want to kind of mix this up a little. It's stirring, but you can't even see it. Look at that. It's like a creature underneath the water. It's probably more effective when it's full like that because you don't have to worry about the edges being so stuck. Now we cover it up Now there's 5 minutes left in the original program. As soon as that ends, it's gonna simmer for 40 minutes, and then our chili is done. I gotta say, I did have to kind of help it along with the ground beef, but it looks like when the pot's full like this, it will be pretty good at stirring, so we'll see in a little while. When it's full like that, the stirring seems pretty efficient. When it's not so full, not so efficient. All right, so the StirMax program is over. Now it's going into a 40-minute simmer program. I wanna see what the temperature of the chili is going into this simmer program. 170, just move it around here a bit, 170. It's at 170 right now. All right, so I'm gonna leave it on this 40-minute simmer cycle and see how it tastes when we're all done. All right, 40-minute simmer cycle is over. Let's check it out. This handle is not that hot, by the way. By the way, it did stir occasionally throughout the entire 40-minute simmer cycle. Let's see what the final temperature is. Oh, it's hot. That is hot. I'm gonna scoop some of this out of here and see how it tastes. All right, there's our nice bowl of chili. Once this cools down a little bit, I'm gonna give it a taste test. All right, I'm gonna try this chili, but I mean, really, it's kind of hard to mess this up. Everything was cooked, so it should be good. All right, the chili is a success. Everything came out good. The only thing is I had to kind of stir that ground beef myself a little bit, but otherwise, I think it did a good job. I think when you get a lot of liquid in there, the stirring actually works better. The less you have in there, the less it seems to work. And the more likely it is to push everything to the outside and leave it there. But I think on that note, I have enough information to wrap this thing up. So in the end, I'm kind of on the fence about this one. Actually, I'm not on the fence. I'm not really a big fan of this one. I know it has decent reviews on Amazon. I don't care about that. To me, I made 4 dishes. 3 of them weren't very good, and 1 was just kind of all right. It's not without merit. I think it actually has some pretty nice features. I like the fact that it can switch over from cooking over to simmering. It seems like the heating was even in there. The non-stick surface is nice. It cleans up easily. I like the glass lid. The handle doesn't get hot. So I think if they took the stirring mechanism out and lowered the price to about 50 bucks, it'd probably be a pretty nice multi-cooker. But when people are buying it for the stirring feature, I think they're gonna be disappointed. An automatic stirrer sounds good on paper, but there's some decision making that has to happen when you're stirring. When you open up your pot of food, you might think this section over here might need to be moved to the center. This part's getting a little bit warmer, move it out to the edges. It doesn't do that. It just mindlessly stirs it and with no regard to what's inside. In my case, it led to uneven cooking with the rice, over stirring with the mac and cheese. I thought the chili came out pretty good, but that was more liquid in there, although I did have to help it with the ground beef. So to me, this one sounds good on paper, but until they come up with a smarter stirring function, I don't think it works very well. But that's all I've got. If you've tried the Power XL StirMax or something like it, tell me what you think in the comments below. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.